Fala galera, eu sou Igor Miranda e hoje o papo é com ninguém menos que GEOFF TATE. O vocalista traz ao Brasil uma turnê tocando dois álbuns clássicos do QUEENSRÝCHE na íntegra. São eles o Rage for Order, de 1986, e o Empire, de 1990, inclusive é o disco que traz o mega hit Silent do City. As informações sobre esses shows, datas e locais, estão aqui na descrição desse vídeo. Essa vai ser a primeira vez que eu vou trazer um colaborador externo para apresentar o material aqui no canal. É o Marcelo Vieira, querido amigo jornalista, que conduziu essa entrevista para nós. Essa é a primeira vez que ele está colaborando com o canal, mas não é a primeira vez que ele colabora com Igor Miranda de forma geral, porque a gente tem vários artigos e até entrevistas também que ele fez para o site igormiranda.com.br. Nessa entrevista com o Marcelo, o Geoff fala sobre diversos assuntos relacionados a esses álbuns, né, que estão sendo homenageados. Ele realmente faz uma volta ao tema bem bacana aí, com a reflexão pontual ali, a cabeça dele do século XXI, olhando para esses discos de tantos anos atrás. Ele também fala sobre os recentes problemas de saúde aí que impediram que ele fizesse essa turnê no Brasil em 2022, que seria o original, né, o planejamento original ali, mas acabou sendo adiado para 2023. E também fala sobre diversos outros assuntos. Ele também traz uma reflexão bem legal ali sobre a cena grunge, né? Porque o QUEENSRYCHE veio de Seattle, assim como várias dessas bandas grunge. Enfim, o papo tá bem legal, espero que vocês curtam. Se liga!
First of all, I would like to know how you're doing after those health issues.
I'm doing good. Yeah, feeling great. It's been, I guess, well, I had my operation in June. So I'm to June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, 7 months on the 22nd. So I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. Feeling very strong and energetic, you know.
And what exactly did you have that forced you to postpone the tour?
I had a heart valve operation where they cut you open and take your heart out and put it on top of your chest and sew it all up, sew a new valve into it, put it back in. Pretty invasive surgery, actually.
And how does it feel to come back to Brazil after so long?
Well, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, looking very forward to it. It's should be an interesting tour. I like coming to the southern hemisphere, especially in your summer is beginning now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it your summertime now? Yeah,
Sure.
I look forward to that. Because here in the north it's cold. And I don't like the cold.
Well, I have to say, from a fan point of view, I think it's genius to present Rage for Order and Empire in their entirety. For me, both albums are kind of related. Do you agree that there is a thematic connection between one and the other?
I'm sure there's some sort of connection in a sense because, you know, the same writers were working on it all, and it's part of your thing, you know, and part of your consciousness in a sense. Got more time in a sense because Empire is only 60 minutes, you know, it's not quite long enough for a show. And I always wanted to play Rage for Order in its entirety because I never got a chance to. So it's really worked out nicely, you know, to play both albums. And I hope that I hope the fans learn to love the albums as much as I love them by me presenting them like this, you know.
Was any specific preparation necessary to hit the higher notes or something like?
Oh yeah. Well, both albums are quite, how can I say, challenging, you know, to perform in different ways, challenging in different ways. The high notes are not such a problem for me. It's the lower stuff that took me a while to get comfortable again with, you know. And actually the arrangements, just kind of wrapping my head around what I was thinking about, 30+ years ago. It's kind of fun in a sense to kind of revisit that and learn how to do it again,
Yeah.
because you have to kind of learn it again, because you're not thinking in those terms anymore. You've moved on to think about other things and other musical ways of doing things musically. So yeah, it's a nice return to beginnings.
Speaking to Circus magazine in the past, Chris DeGarmo described the concept behind Rage for Order as technological indoctrination versus human emotional response. I understood this as trying to make sense out of all the confusing aspects of reality, but I would like you to develop a little further. What is the album all about?
Well, I think we all have different ideas of what it means to us. And that's the beauty of music, is it can be interpreted in a number of different ways. What I was trying to say, typically with the album, was that technology is a wonderful thing, in the sense that it sort of employs our minds to create these devices and ways of doing things to make our lives easier, better, more fulfilling. But there's a tendency for human beings to rely heavily on devices rather than connect emotionally with other human beings. And I think there's a huge danger in that, where, especially as artificial intelligence becomes more prominent in our society, it will, I firmly believe this, it will be the downfall of humanity when we depend too much on this artificial intelligence that we've created, and we pick and choose it over our emotional connections to other humans. I think that is paramount importance. And those are the ideas I was trying to get across in the lyrics of the album, and putting it in different scenarios, and of course relating it to my own life at the time.
Well, Operation Mindcrime is often credited with being the watershed in QUEENSRÿCHE's career, but for me, Empire is a few notches higher for encompassing much more universal themes. Like you guys wrote about handicapped people, you guys wrote about loneliness, homeless people. How much of that content was inspired by your real life experiences?
Oh, all of it. Yeah, all of it. It was an interesting time. Of the Operation Mindcrime touring for that album, which was quite intensive, and we traveled to a lot of places around the world, places we hadn't been to before. So, as a writer, you take in all that experience, and you think about it, and you put it into some sort of frame of reference in your mind, and it comes out in your writing, and then being home after having huge life experiences, it's often people that when your life has changed so much, it's taken some of the songs on the album Empire deal with that, the frustration of not being able to relate to your friends anymore, or your family, and trying to find ways of relating, but yeah, I wanted to talk again about topics that were important to me and interesting to me, because I think you have to write about what you know. And I knew a homeless woman who lived in the doorway of a shop that was next door to my building where I lived. And I got to kind of know her over the time period I lived there. And her situation really struck me as being typical of most homeless people. And I found it to be tragic and so sad. And also at the same time, very inspiring. Inspiring enough to write a song about it. You know, Della Brown is about her. But yeah, all of those experiences on the album were from personal experience.
I recently read that Lenny Staley of Alice in Chains and Chris Cornell of Soundgarden took voice lessons from the same teacher who gave you voice lessons, David Kyle. Does this suggest that the whole Seattle music scene, be it metal, grunge, was somehow interconnected?
Oh yeah, well, Soundgarden opened shows for us. We played together. The whole, well, the music scene in Seattle was at the time was very small, and you know, everybody kind of knew everybody because there really wasn't that many places to play live, you know. And so you saw each other play if you played in town, and the incredible voice teacher at the time in Seattle was David Kyle, Maestro Kyle, and he had an amazing career. If you look him up on Google, you'd be just amazed at the different students he had over time. He was at Carnegie Hall in New York City for years, at an office there. He shared with Irving Berlin. He taught voice to, I can't remember all the people, probably 20, 30 really important celebrities that you've probably heard of. Johnny Carson was one of them. He was a very famous TV personality in America. Ann and Nancy Wilson from Heart. When he moved out to Seattle to retire, and actually never really retired. And when I took lessons from him, he was incredibly old. He must have been in his 80s at that time. And he had like really long silver hair all the way down to like his chest, you know. And he could sing like a bird. He had a beautiful voice. And he was probably, of the three people in my life, teachers that have influenced me, he was probably the number one influencer. He was just so good at teaching you what you needed to learn that you left his studio feeling like you could do anything. You just felt superhuman. And I think that's what everybody that has taken lessons from him probably felt too. I know a couple of people I've talked to have told me they felt the same way. So I'm assuming everyone did. He had just had that effect on the students, you know.
I know that at the same time you were on the charts with Silent Lucidity, many of those grunge brands break out. Did you feel somehow jealous of them?
No, no. You know, anybody that can make a living doing this kind of work, presenting art and making a living from it, I'm all about that. You know, I think that it's so difficult to do, and so few of us have success at it that jealousy just doesn't raise its head. Why would you be jealous of someone's success? You know, it doesn't make sense to me.
Well, since I mentioned Silent Lucidity, I would like you to talk about it. What does this song especially mean, not just for QUEENSRÿCHE, but for your career as a whole?
Well, it was a very popular song, you know, and still is. I hear it all the time in everyday life. It just floats in and out on radio stations and TV stations, and pumping gas at the gas station, and it pops on the speaker, you know. It's just weird. I hear it in films and TV shows, and yeah, it's it's a song that is with us at all times, you know. And that's a great thing. I love that. I love that it's surprising that I hear it. You know, I love that fact. And to get asked to play that song a lot, people tell me stories about the first time they heard it or what that song means to them. And it seems to have had quite an emotional impact on people, you know, over the time. I think people have been married to the song and buried to the song. You know, children have been born, children have been made to that song. Yeah, it's been played a lot.
Well, it's been more than 10 years since you and QUEENSRÝCHE parted ways, but there are still some fans clamoring for a reunion. Do you envision this? I mean, what would you make you come back to QUEENSRYCHE?
Oh, probably
a ton of money.
Yeah, I don't see it really happening now.
Well, I have to say that Switch Oblivion is one of the coolest things I heard in years. It is, in my opinion, among your best works. Could you talk a little bit about it?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, well, I'm actually getting ready to start the third one now.
Whoa, that's great news.
Yeah, we've just started talking about it over the holidays and started exchanging music back and forth. So hopefully, if all goes well, we'll see a new album from Sweet Oblivion coming out this year, I would say, 23. I really enjoy making them. I never know what it's going to be like, and I like the fact that I'm working with other people who I don't know or normally wouldn't perhaps come into contact with. I like the interaction and the collaboration, you know, working with different artists. Yeah, there's just it's a very satisfying project, I'd say.
So after touring commitments, what can we expect from Geoff Tate for 2023?
Well, I'm touring. I'm trying to go everywhere I possibly can, while I still can. And geez, I'm looking forward to, you know, doing the Sweet Oblivion record this year. I am working on another project that of new music that's my own. So hopefully I can finish that up. Have an autobiography in the works that I'm past due turning in. So 23 might be a big year for me. I might have a lot of stuff coming out.
Well, I usually wrap up my interviews asking what was the most valuable lesson you've learned in your career. So I'm going to ask you this. What was the most valuable lesson you learned in your career?
Valuable lesson. Well, there's quite a few. I think that you should always listen to other people. You may not agree with what they have to say, but I think that you should always listen to their opinions and take them to heart. You know, make up your own mind what you want to do, but it really pays and is beneficial to you to listen to other people's opinions. And also, I think, treat others with kindness and patience, because we're not all moving in the same direction and we're not all equal in the sense of our abilities or our faculties. And I think it really pays to be patient